just blazing a trail for those who will follow after you. So, little thought on this. My sister is going to be having one of my old biology teachers for her teacher for high school. So that's crazy. So I think about me being in that class and how well I did in that class and how I was generally liked by the teacher going to have ripple effects. Everything has a ripple effect, believe it or not. For some things, it's not very well noticed, but it's a real thing. Like, think of like my future kids, and a lot of my future kids' lives is going to be influenced by how I live my life. And again, that goes along with using a trail. It makes me think about sharing as much as I can, learning as much as I can, spending as much time in the light as I possibly can, and then sharing that good stuff. Because sharing that good stuff is going to give my future kids perspectives and things that they could latch onto. There might be something that I say that meant very little, if anything, to me, a poem I wrote, and then I just didn't have much of a connection to wrote it for that future child of mine. I don't know. So it's important to just continue to show up and not worry about being in the midst of all these things happening, because life is so grand and vast at the end of the day, and it's also so small. Like, we're also in this big giant universe, and there's a lot of things that could be happening, and yet we're right here. I got to do a escape room with some friends for a church activity, so that was fun. And I was kind of, I wouldn't say stressed out, but that was something I immediately felt from the escape room was you're not in this alone. Like, in the beginning of the escape room, I won't spoil it, but it was like Harry Potter themed. And so we were going to go into the Ministry of Magic, and we started with going into a phone booth to get there. And that first puzzle, I was like, there's like all these symbols up there, there's symbols on the ground, there's symbols everywhere. I'm like, I don't know how to make sense of all of this. Thankfully, we had somebody in our group that was able to like put it all together. And the same was the case when we got in the big room, which had like all these different clues, all these different things going on, and just anything that could be done to move us forward. That was like useful information. That was something that would help to make it clear for those who would pass by that path later. It really is a very humbling thing to think about, that years and years and years after I'm gone from this earth, there could be somebody that I might never meet in this life who finds one of my books, who finds this or something, and gets something out of it. Like, something touches them or reaches out to them. And that's why it's so important to remember that we're in this microcosm of life. We're in this like smaller version, like this is happening right now. We're experiencing this, but at the same time, how we live this life is going to affect how the rest of the world moves, at least to some degree. It's going to affect it in some way. Some will have a bigger impact than others, but all will have an impact. There was one point in the escape room today where we're kind of stuck, and I'm really tall in comparison to the average human being. I'm over 6 foot tall, you know, and that's taller than most males, most females. There's this one part where we were trying to find this other clue, and we kept looking in the wrong place. And then I looked to this other place, and there it was in plain sight, but nobody else could see it. But I had like the vantage point of being able to see much higher. And so I was able to be like, oh yeah, that's where that is. And that opened this door, like with all the numbers and stuff, and that opened up this other door and this other thing. So it's interesting because we don't realize how valuable those little nuggets, those little grains of embers and fires, those little things that we pick up in our daily lives, we don't realize how valuable that stuff is. A lot of times it's what we take for granted that makes all the difference for somebody else in the future or in some other way. I've had times where I listen to a podcast and I'm like, yeah, this is a good podcast. And there's something that stands out to me, and I tell somebody about that, or I tell the host that of the podcast, like, oh yeah, I didn't even realize that would make a difference. But yeah, if you're spending time with things that emanate light, then your path is going to be made clear. And so if you're able to put out something into this world that could make there be a brighter thing, that can make a big difference. Great example is this book. So Magic of Thinking Big. I think I first read this when I was like 17 or so. David J. Short's been dead for some time, but his book lives on, right? So this came in like the 50s. It sold more than 4 million copies. That's a big deal. And with this book, when I was going through a really rough time, it was kind of bouncing back from that. It's out, Blocking the Light. Yeah, like when I was going through a really rough time, I put this in the driver's seat of my car. So every time I got in that car, I would open it up. I'd open up to some random spot, and it would help out with something in my life. I could use that. Similar to the escape room, I could use this thing that had been created like for anything else. This could be a tool, this could be a weapon, this could be any of these things. Like for the guy who wrote it, it was just a book and he's already passed on. But when you write something, create something that a lot of light inside of it, it could be used for a lot of different things. So I could just open up to any page of this book and it'll probably be something that's at least somewhat useful. So there we go. I just opened up to page 170. Says enthusiasm can make things 1,000 times better. 2 years ago, employees in a business I'm acquainted with donated $94.35 to the Red Cross. This year, the same employees of just about the same payroll donated almost $1,100, an increase of 1,100%. The drive captain, who collected only $94.35, was totally lacking in enthusiasm. He made remarks like, "I suppose it's a worthwhile organization. I've never had any direct contact with it. It's a big organization. They collect a lot from the wealthy, so suppose it's not too important if you contribute. If you can make a donation, see me." This did nothing to inspire anyone to want to join the Red Cross and do it in a big way. Then this year's drive captain was a different sort. He had enthusiasm. He gave examples of case histories that showed how the Red Cross pitches in when disaster strikes. He showed how the Red Cross depends on donations from everyone. He asked the employees to be guided in giving by how much they would be willing to give a neighbor if disaster should strike him. He said, "Look what the Red Cross has done." Notice he did not beg. He did not say each of you is expected to donate XX dollars. All he did was show enthusiasm, and success naturally followed. Think for a moment about a club or civic organization you know that is fading away. Chances are all it needs is enthusiasm to bring it back to life. So there you go. You could apply that to a million different things. That was just one page of the book. You could apply that to a struggling marriage. You could apply that to a lot of different things. Yeah, so it's good stuff. I had a good time at the escape room. Gave me some good perspective, reminding me that I have different skills that position me towards success in some areas, and I would be very benefited by pouring a lot of myself into those things. Speaking and writing come pretty naturally to me, so it would be wise if I got things situated in my overall life, as much writing and speaking as possible. That gives me the greatest opportunity to reach the most group of people. So right now I'm working for my friend's startup. I'm doing cold calls and sales and stuff. And as much enjoy that, it's fun to get to talk to new people and stuff. It's not where I can make my highest contribution. So I was also thinking about this too. The reason why I'm in this spot right now, this relatively really good spot, living in this basement with this awesome older couple who they love each other, they're great, and I'm living in the basement. Because they've lived their lives up to a point, they've won life to a certain degree to where they can pass down some of these blessings they experience down to me. I get to live in their house, right? Now, if when they were younger, the husband had gone completely off the rails and gone into alcohol or something like that, chances are I wouldn't be living in this basement. Chances are there's a lot of other beautiful things that wouldn't have happened. So when you do well with life and you just try to do what you can to enjoy the blessings that you have right now, there will be blessings that will flow from it. So as you play the game of life and as you show up and as you work your job and whatever it might be, just do the best you can, but recognize there will also be cool things that happen along the way that are just part of being you. The game is rigged in your favor. The game is rigged in your favor. That was another thought that was on my mind too before I came down to start recording this. The game's rigged in your. So if you ever feel like, yeah, like I don't know how this is gonna work out. This is difficult. This is painful. I don't know about this kind of thing. Well, just remember that there could be help right around the corner. There could be somebody who has connections that God puts you in contact with. And all you need to do, you need to be willing to put yourself out there and be willing to have the miraculous happen. We live in a world like this is the same earth where we had, Moses striking the rock and water coming out, Moses parting the Red Sea, uh, Elisha throwing uh, I think he threw something in the water, and then the axe came up. Like all these different things. Like we live in that same world. Like God is a God of miracles. He's able to do anything. So we know we're living in the last days. These are the last days before Christ comes back and everything like that. And it's important to remember that you're blazing a trail right now for those people who will follow after you. It's kind of humbling. Yeah, Walk the Light says a couple that stays together blesses society more than we realize. Yeah, it's true. My still together. It's a beautiful thing how that can, flower into so many beautiful things. I mean, my parents, that's another good example. Both of them they don't really have any vices or anything like that. They don't have anything that's ever held them down. Like my dad is like the straightest arrow, like ever, like literally ever. I don't know of any wrong thing he's ever done ever. So, it's just we all get to have different upbringings, and at the end of the day, we need to do the best we can we've been given. If you're born into a family that doesn't have very good dynamics, well, you could use everything you learn from that and bring that into your own family. My thoughts on Normans. So I don't know what Norman is, James Tolhurst. If your question is about Mormons, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Mormon is a term that people used back in the day to describe that. Yeah, I mean, I served a 2-year mission. Life is good. Yeah, yeah. I'm not quite sure what it's been. I think it's been it's going to continue to be under fire. There's people that have heard a lot of misinformation. We live in a world where we get to choose what side we'll stand on. For me, I believe wholeheartedly in a Book of Mormon, Joseph Smith, all that stuff. I mean, I've done studies myself, so that's how I feel about the matter. So, yeah, I worked in the temple as a volunteer there before I moved out here to North Carolina. So that's kind of where I'm standing on that. Yeah. So it's interesting because I love how people can. I want to like people's testimonies. I want to help people share their testimonies. That's what I love doing. So I've done a couple newsletters and yeah, it's all good, James. It's a good question. Yeah, I've had people with my newsletter. I've had people share their testimonies on there that are of different faiths. So I love having people their testimony of Christ. It says in Revelation 11 that we overcame by the word of our testimonies, right? And so I believe that was talking about a war that happened before we came here to this earth. The fight was over our agency, and that fight is still going on. The fight has continued. The scene has changed. So, yeah, the members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints believe in the pre-mortal life, right? That we lived with God before we came here, and Christ volunteered to be our Savior and one who was chosen, for the foundation of the world and everything. And so, yeah, Christ came that we might have life, that we might have it more abundantly. I love helping people to find more faith in Christ, and my life has definitely had many, many miracles, many cool things happen, and at the end of the day, just it all comes back to Christ. I'm grateful for Christ and what he's done for me. I know healing me and taking care of me. And a lot of it comes down to letting Christ have more of my life and my time and my energy, and yeah, just resting in what he's done for me. And yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So yeah, I don't intend to force any of my kids to go to church or anything like that. I will just live my testimony and continue to lift up others and seek to be a blessing and just blaze the trail. I've been thinking about that a lot more recently, how I ultimately just need to play my part and then I'll be gone, right? So when it comes to, uh, there's an event in track that I ran a couple times called a relay. And so with a relay, you're holding the baton, you're running. If you drop the baton, team is literally out of the game. Like you literally lose. So you have to run with the baton, you're running with the, and then when you get to the end of your leg of the race, you're extending, you're like, here, grab it. And then the person like, bloop. And then they continue and you get to rest, done. So I think of my grandparents who are just like, who they did that. They're like, here, like, pass it on, pass down the love, pass down the joy, pass down the encouragement to my parents. And then my parents are running and then they passed it down to me. One of these pass it down to my kids. But I really think that a lot of the gift of my waiting for a lot of these things to happen in my life is to me be more intentional about it. Because once you're in the thick of it, once it's all happening, you have no more time to prepare. For whatever reason, God has given me a lot of time to prepare for future marriage and future career with a lot of these things. He's given me a lot of time. With other people, I guess the time wasn't necessary or whatever. But for me, it's like he's helping me to be very intentional in dating and being like knowing what kind of man I will be. Like I can be kind of loud, like when I'm speaking or I'm really passionate about something, but most of the time I'm pretty chill and soft spoken. I'm usually the person that somebody would call if they're having a rough time. I was talking with a friend last night going through a really rough time. That's just kind of the role that I've generally played. And I would make that to continue when it comes to family. I'm not sure how the dynamic between me and my future wife will work when it comes to disciplining the kids and everything like that. But I want to be seen as a safe figure that my future kids could talk to about anything, right? I'd rather them hear it from me than try to like figure out some stuff. And that kind of goes along with the escape room I was at. We could always ask the actor there that was helping out. We could always ask him stuff if we got lost. And he wasn't going to tell us the answer, but he was going to give us some kind of direction to help us move forward because he knew all the answers. And I think God is very much the same way. Sometimes God give us the exact answer, or whatever we're looking for. A lot of times, I know I've had a time when I was in college, I was preparing to do this presentation, and I just had thought about going and looking up this thing in a book. And I opened up that book and started looking, and I found something, and that led to other stuff. Walking the line, that's a good way to go. Parents never forced me to go to church. I went because I wanted to. Yeah. I can remember a couple times where I did not want to stay in church for whatever reason, and then feeling kind of alone and kind of wanting to be part of that again, you know? So you get to, I think letting them have the choice is everything. You got to let them have a choice. You got to choose your love your choice. If the choice is made for you, it's very hard to have any love for that choice. And so it's just being thankful that you have the opportunity to make that choice at all. And like when you don't make that choice and if you kind of waste the time or whatever, you might run out of time and then you don't have any choice to make at all. You've lost the chance. So yeah, the time's gonna go by either way. It's good to be intentional with it. And the other thing I was thinking about too is to be intentional about what you're close to. Earlier today, I read on this thing called 750 words every day, try anyway, and I opened it up and was gonna start writing, and I didn't start writing, and then I just was like, yeah, what the heck? I just started writing, and I was just going, you know? If you can make it closer, bring it closer to you, he talks about always being close to a good idea. So when he's working, he always has books and stuff around. So I mean, I have this close by, I have creativity in close by, I have these juggling balls close by. I have this newspaper clipping I found a couple weeks ago on a run that changed my perspective. It just says, give God this moment. Yeah. And you just, at the end of the day, you just kind of keep building it up because a lot of these things are undiscovered. There's that quote that just says that God left electricity undiscovered. He left the bridge unmade. He left all these things undone so we could do it, you know? So we could have the joy of being able to organize and create these things and bring them to pass, right? So that's a cool thing. We get to have that gift. And that's the case with this startup. I mean, earlier this week, it was just, I was like doing all kinds of studying and writing and all this stuff to get to the bottom of understanding what's going on, all these numbers. What does all this mean? My parents were really taught me correct principles, let me rule myself. That's good. There's that quote from, I don't think it's Rumi, but it just says, if you want to rule an empire, rule yourself, right? So if you want your kids to have an empire, then they have to be able to rule themselves. That's important. And it says in Proverbs 16:32 that it's better that it's that you're be slow. I don't know. It's like he that is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he that is it's just better that he that is controlling of his spirit than he that taketh the city. So it's good stuff. I mean, both parents, like, they believe really strongly and have strong testimonies of Christ and stuff. Neither of them really have the scripture memory and the photographic memory that I have. They don't. So it puts me at in a different place. And they did the best they could with the knowledge they had. They really did. And there's some things I've really just had to turn to Heavenly Father and be like, bro, what's going on? Because I don't know what's going on. And my parents have not dealt with something like this before. It's all new. So help me out. And I've definitely had many experiences where I felt the Lord kind of held me out. Because at the end of the day, I was God's child first before I was my parents' child. And the same will be the case with my future kids. Like, I'm going to need a lot of help when it comes to being able to see them and take care of them and help them out. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just an interesting thing to think about, like how well right now in my life, how much I work, how much I don't work, how many books I come out with, how many risks I take, how well I do at talking to random people, and et cetera, et cetera. It's all going to influence what kind of life my future kids are able to have, at least the growing up they're able to have. So yeah, it's neat. I think it's really important to keep that bigger picture in mind because today was super chill. Today was extremely chill. I was planning to get up, do a bunch of work on my own thing, and all this other stuff. What ended up happening was I literally slept in until like 3 p.m. How that happened, I just kept sleeping and just kept sleeping and just kept sleeping. And then I woke up and it was like 3 p.m. and I was like, world. So I just did some writing, ate some food, did some podcast episodes, and then I just went to this escape room, ate some more food, and played some video games. And it's like, yeah, we're just about to go to bed. It's like today was about as chill as can be, and nothing really happened. And I honestly didn't do like much of the things I was going to do, so that's kind of frustrating. But it's just like, yeah, man. I have one of my videos is starting to pick up some traction. It had 100 views yesterday and has 250 views today, so that's cool. The video about letting go of your vision and trusting God's vision. I didn't expect that. That video was made just like any other video. I was just like, bloop, goodbye. I think that's why we need to let go of our attachment to these things before we just put them out there. You need to be able to just like have no attachment and just being to just move this through when you know that it's good enough. And especially that's the case of all these like quick little videos I'm recording. It's nothing like super groundbreaking, but apparently it's helpful for people and it's just paving the path. So chances are that video would not be doing as it is doing if I had not done maybe some of these live things, somebody subscribes from this or something. It all just kind of works out. And it comes down to this quote from Alex Hermosi that volume negates luck. I think that's a beautiful, beautiful thought to have and just remember, just that all the work you're putting in right now is going to make it so you can reach more people down the road. And the greatest impact you'll make with these different things, it's to be determined. Like I'm not even 30 yet, and there's people that are like 36, 37, and are building out their content thing. Like by the time I'm their age, dude, like it'll be good. It'll be good. It'll be really, really good. So that's why I have like no stress whatsoever. There's some stress about making enough money. There's stress about what is the next step, because at least at this point in my life, the next step is kind of unsure. It's okay, well, I'm going to get a new computer. Okay, I'm going to get a camera. Okay, I'm going to, run a marathon. But when it comes to working for my friend's startup, I'll probably get a raise pretty soon. And like, it's like, well, what's next? And the answer is I have a lot of control of that. If I moved out before I had the income streams really figured out, I'd probably run out of money quickly. And that's not super smart. That's not wise. At the same time, I've almost been living here for 3 months. And that's kind of what I'm like, okay, I've made some money and I have a tiny bit saved up, but nothing compared to like what I would need to move out. So yeah, it just makes me think about needing to be thinking farther out. It comes down to having deadlines, comes down to more experimenting, and more or less just getting myself more out there. I've been sleeping on my own potential with a lot of this stuff. I've been taking a break from social media, so I think that's been good. But there comes a time where it's like, okay, I gotta put this stuff out while I still have the ability to do so. So yeah, it's humbling, man. It's humbling to have all this stuff in mind already. Yeah. Yeah, we do need days like that sometimes. I agree with you. It's important to have moments like that. I will say I was playing Mario Party Island Tour, which I got on the 3DS as one of the games. I got it for like $10. I was like, whatever, dude, $10. I'll get $10 of value out of this, and it's just something to like, just play, jump in. I was playing this level with like all these rockets, and the way to move in the game is you hit the dice block and you have to get far enough. And I got all these different boosters. I got so many boosters that if I used all the boosters, then it would like 5x my dice roll. But I did that and my roll was 0. And that happened twice. And so it's like, this game is so luck based, and it literally says that before you jump in. And it's a beautiful thing, but it just kind of reminds you like luck is a decent part of this. And you go back to that quote from Alex Hermosi, like volume negates luck. And I believe that God is also in the details too. Yeah, and then I kept winning mini games, and then finally my luck or whatever, the volume paid off. I'd won some video games or mini games that got the boosters, and then one of the times I rolled and I got a 20, and yeah. But there was literally one point where I landed on 25 space thing, but I just kept falling behind. But eventually the time came through where I just like zoomed and passed through everything. And all the work is part of that beautiful success that happens after, it talks about in the scriptures, you receive no witness after the trial of your faith. Be not afraid, only believe. And then there's like all these different ones. Like you're not going to get the blessing until it's time. And until then, you just kind of learn and grow through it. Yeah, I saw the Switch 2 review. It looked pretty cool. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Yeah. I still have my Switch at home. Um, I don't know. For me, I feel like it'd be cool. I'm not really sold on it yet. I'm probably gonna wait. Like as far as the bell curve goes, that all tech goes through. Like here's like the beginning spot where a lot of the die hard, try hard, or super excited, whatever. Like the Triforce, whatever dude who's like in front of every Nintendo launch. There's him, and then I'm probably gonna be like right around here, maybe. We'll see. I'll be part of the second majority, higher majority or lower majority, one of those that jumps in on it. It just depends though. If they release another Donkey Kong game though on Switch 2, then that's a different story. I'll probably like a sequel to Donkey Kong Country Returns, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Like Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is just such a good game. Goodness gracious, such a good game. So if they had like a sequel to those, that would be cool. But it is cool how games are backwards compatible. Who knows? Maybe I'll win a Switch 2 somehow, some way. You never know. But it looks pretty cool. I hope it does well. I'm sure it will do well. I mean, the original Switch did super well. Mario Kart 9 were some good date nights. Yeah, that's true. Maybe. You never know. Double Dash Switch 2. Yeah. Mario Kart Double Dash Switch 2. Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, I think it's too early to tell, but yeah, we'll see what ends up happening. I do look forward to playing it though. I think that'll be fun. Yeah. Right now, my main money things, I really think this needs to be a year for me of like buying to create instead of buying to consume, buying to recreate. Like recreation is great. You're mostly recreating, like you're creating your own experience on top of somebody else's creation. But when you're able to create thing just with your own thing, that's great. So yeah, I've been thinking about probably needing to invest more into things. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of 3DS games I'd still like to buy. I still want to get Kirby Planet Robobot, and I'd like to get Kirby Triple Deluxe. It would be nice to play Black 2 or White 2, Pokemon. But I'm not made of money. I also, excuse me, dying here. No, I'm fine. Yeah, it's like we don't get any time back. So as soon as I possibly can, get the nicer computers, I can do some bigger stuff. And then, yeah, but it's cool to have stuff on the horizon. It's cool to have stuff, might have might have some other fun stuff coming along. And it's funny, I'll tell you this one little story because it was just on my mind. Remember when I was living in North Carolina and I was just kind of feeling a little bit down in the dumps a little bit. And I remember going to my uncle's house because he wasn't there. And some reason I was allowed to be there. I was just hanging out. I think he was okay with me being there. No, he was okay with me being there. I was just working on their stuff. But yeah, I just went over there. I sat down and I just sort of felt like this emptiness a little bit. And I had the clear prompting, open up the Nintendo channel, like open up Nintendo on YouTube. And I was like, why would I do that? And I fought it. I was like, this is weird. This is not God. I don't know what this is, but I don't know how it could be anything but God because it wasn't my own thought. And I was just like, all right, whatever. So I opened it up and I started watching the Nintendo Direct and it was talking about how they were recreating Super Mario RPG. And I was like, that's crazy. And then they were bringing Wiggler and the Squeaky Clean Sprint. And I just watched that part over and over and I was like, this is so cool. And I just kind of had that feeling like similarly down in your life, there are things that are ahead that are really big and are really great and will come together for you. Like if we could do like a Dallin Candland direct, like, all right, coming up in 2026, coming up in summer 2025, it's like there's these really cool things happen. So yeah, I just kind of had that moment with God where I was like, yeah, these games are coming out and there's bigger stuff happening. I don't think anybody would have ever imagined that Super Mario RPG would get remade. Same with Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, but those were that were gonna come out. So yeah, man, it's interesting. Don't know. But what we do know is that there's some basic things that need to happen to move us further along. Work is probably the most obvious and basic. Like, if you're working, gives you a chance for this to get sharper, for you to get better at your job, to potentially reach people you may not have been able to reach. Like, I didn't do much work today. I actually didn't do any work today. It was kind of a holiday. Slept until 3. It's also like 10 degrees outside. It's cold. It's actually so cold. It's not like as cold as it'd be like humid in North Carolina at 10 degrees, but it's still really cold. Walking the Light said, I might start a gaming YouTube channel called Game in the Light. Yeah, man. I mean, that could go well. I mean, I would just recommend just experimenting, right? Like, if it goes really well, you have people that move to that, then that would be sweet. If it's worth the time, like if you're getting a pretty good benefit for the time you're putting in, I would say go for it. So making a YouTube channel is fun because you get to also make, you make the content, but you also have the video game there, and then you can also go back to it. You can go back to it and watch it over again, or it could reach people. You can make shorts from it, and you could help people associate like God with these video games and things. So it's some good stuff. I've done a fair amount of video game stuff, and James was part of that. And then I also did like a solo thing I did for a little bit too. So something from my hobby. Yeah, I mean, if they can find a way to like all connect and work together, that's the best. That's the best. I will say video games are pretty amazing in that it's a variable reward, so changing up. They are very they can be very, very powerful in helping to like teach different things, because they have a lot of things going on, so you could learn a lot and focus on it. What I'm trying to say is teach stuff without people realizing it. Like, I remember playing this game called Math Blaster on the computer, and it was like teaching math as you were this guy using this jetpack. You're like solving all these problems. And same thing with like some of these other things, like they don't realize it, but helping kids to be more logical based thinkers because of the puzzles and all the other stuff going on. Dude, Math Blaster was a vibe. Math Blaster was a vibe. It was great. It was great. It's like, and you're like flying all through all those levels and stuff. Yeah, Math Blaster was a good. Yeah, I still have moments. Like, there's some video games I would like to. It would have been cool to make some gaming content for, like Paper Miles in Your Door, the remake. I'm not saying it won't ever happen. All I'm saying is right now, it's a time to really dive deep and get stuff done, really focus, and just get done the thing most important, right? Like, if we got to the end of my life, what are the things that are like really bringing me closer to that? I didn't think there'd be many people here at this live. Okay, I was mostly doing this because I had the thought on my mind and I wanted to get it out there. So also, for anybody who's curious, I was doing 75 hard, and then I fell off 75 hard on day 9. Yeah, I fell off, didn't drink enough water, and I'm gonna resume it tomorrow. So we're gonna try again. So didn't drink enough water, and yeah, so I'm gonna have to get better at that. I have a gallon of water thing I'm gonna be using, like a gallon thing. I'm gonna keep like cleaning that out, and then keep cleaning it out, and keep using it, and then yeah, anything to make it easier. Anything to make it easier for yourself. Anything to make the behavior you want to happen, like making it so easy. So in my room, this is this room, but another room. In the other room where I'm sleeping, I'm like basically, like I've set it up so like I'm only sleeping, and I also can do some reading in there. But I have my Come Follow Me book, some scriptures, and a lamp And I walk in there and it's all designed. So it's like Dallin can read. And that's a beautiful thing. Just designing it. Environment design is such a beautiful, beautiful concept. Yeah, that's basically that though. Yeah, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful because there is risk inherent with any of these things. Like do a live stream, for example. You could have some weirdo, some crazy person that shows up and has a bunch of curse words or whatever. That is a possibility, risk that you have to be willing to take. So, yeah, I mean, I was talking with a friend actually, and they were telling me about get like 10 different death threats every month because they're like a prominent political figure. They're not trying to vote like become president or anything, but they have some very strong political views. And I asked him like, what, like you get 10 death threats a month? And he's like, you have to have something that you would die for. It really made me think. He's like, are you willing to die for your writing, for all these different things, for whatever it might be? So this outcome happened. Are you willing to die for it? And for this friend, he's willing to die for the things that he writes about and that he does. So it's pretty inspiring. Yeah. So just gotta keep going. I don't know if we'll end it on this story, but I'll share it. When I was back in North Carolina, like it's crazy how I felt like God was moving me to different places. But I was other congregation, getting all these notifications. That was from the Sleep Town app. I have the Sleep Town app. It wants me to go to bed at 11, but I don't know if that's gonna happen. Yeah. So anyway, this guy was giving this talk. He was talking about temptation, and he talked about how when he was playing Mario Kart with his roommates, he would always run into the banana peels. And he's like, how do I make it so I don't I don't run into those silly banana peels? And one of his friends finally told him, he was like, dude, don't look at the banana peels. And believe it or not, that as long as he wasn't looking at the banana peels, he wasn't going to run into them. As soon as he like looked at it, he's like, oh, I'm not going to run into it. I don't want to run into it. Usually run into it. Same thing has been the case for me with temptation and other things like that. It's like, you just kind of like, if something comes in your path that you don't like or whatever, it's like, well, you don't have to look at it. Like you can just forward and not worry about it and let go. Like Jesus was tempted with things all the time and he gave no heed to any of it. He just kept going. So yeah, that story was helpful for me too, just to be a reminder that like, if you're focused on something much bigger, then none of these other things is going to stress you out or tempt because you're so focused on something much, much bigger, like life with God, like eternity with God. That's pretty amazing. When you can keep that in your mind, then it really does make anything of this. That's stupid. Like that's foolish. That's pointless. Yeah. And also just knowing that more help is going to come. And there's that hymn that says, in every condition, sickness and in health and poverty's veil or abounding in wealth, at home or abroad on the land or the sea, as they days may demand, as they days may demand, as they days may demand, so succor shall be. So there will be help to help you with all the things that you're going through until the day that you die and leave earth. Like there's going to be help, there's going to be mercies provided, there's going to be things to help you to keep going. And I think today really for me was more of a reflection, hanging out and chilling day, and that's okay. That's okay. And when it comes to like success, especially YouTube success, you just got to have a YouTube channel that or video that does well in the search results, and you'll get views until the millennium. You know what I mean? Like we have some videos, me and James on the Tanuki Toad team, that ranked pretty well for Mario Kart 4-player or whatever, and you look it up, like 4-player Mario Kart 64, and you'll probably find our videos in like the first couple. And most people are not going to go to the second page of Google or second page of YouTube results. And so, yeah, it's just like do well enough that you can get higher ranked, and it's a battle. YouTube ranking, search results, SEO, it's a battle. It's not going to happen immediately. There are some people that have perhaps worked very hard to get to that level, and so it'll take a while for you to catch up, but there's still, of course, the possibility of doing that. And so putting in that time could lead to working it out. You can pay to promote a video. That's true. That's true. I know of somebody who's done that, and it actually worked out very, very well for them. So yeah, maybe worth doing that with one of my videos. I don't know. Depends on how much it is. It'd probably be worth it though. The thing is, like, what we don't have is time, but we can always make more money. So yeah, that's a good point. I might have to look into doing that. Yeah, day 9 with 75 hard is pretty okay. It's okay. It's farther than I'd gotten recently. Yeah, the farthest I've gotten was 36 days, and believe it or not, that was last year around this time. So I was able to be pretty consistent at that. But yeah, it just comes down to drinking more water. That's what's gonna help me. So yeah, believe it or not, you're blazing a trail. Every choice has ripple effects down the road, and it's really so mind-blowing when we realize, like, all the people that, like, reaching that you don't realize you could be reaching. And each time I do my newsletter, usually there's like 5 or 6 more to the list, so that'll add up really quickly. I think the last one I sent out to 650 email addresses, and that's just going to keep growing, so that's cool. You need to put about $100 down for it to get a good return. I might do that down the road. Yeah, I mean, again, if it's worth the investment. I mean, I know of a channel doing is called Walking with the Savior. You could check out. He's got some good interviews. I interviewed on his channel. But he had 50 subscribers or 70 subscribers, and then he paid to promote one of his videos, and then that video got, like, I don't know, he got a pretty good number of views. He's a little over 2,000 or 3,000 subscribers now, so can be a good option, a good move. Historically, I was kind of feeling like that was kind of like cheating, but I don't know. It just depends on how you look at it. I think it's much different than buying followers or something like that on a social media site. It's all complete bogus. But if you're using, the normal inherent tools to promote, like, that's, yeah, you're doing what probably a lot of other people are doing, especially those companies that have a lot of money. Like, okay, what's their marketing budget? And they just pour into it to make it flow. Yeah, throw money at it. Yeah, that's a fun Kickstarter if you want to look it up. Tadpole Trouble Kickstarter. They just say, let's throw money at it. They just throw money at all these things, and the game has better graphics and stuff like that. Yeah, kind of rambling at this point, but it was a good day. Fun to do the escape room. Fun to play some Mario Party. Didn't really work at all today, but it's fine. Can get some good sleep and wake up really early, get my 75 hard run in and stuff in, and just get that all rolling. You did a video of you cleaning your room. That's cool. James said, let's throw money at it. Let's throw money at it! All I have with me is, like, these 3 little pennies. That's, like, it's probably not enough to make anything happen. Throw money at it. Yeah. It's pretty funny. Yeah. Good stuff. One, give me $100. Yeah. Nope. I'm definitely in a season where I just gotta save up and grow and build these things up. I really do believe that once I'm able to level up my content more. Like, I've noticed that even just a tiny bit better thumbnail than the basic default one, like, will get more clicks. I think that's a big part of why my most recent video is doing better, is because it has, like, the Settlers of Catan thing, and it maybe makes people wonder, like, I wonder what's going on with that. So, and I need to check that, but there's been a good number of clicks on it. 20 likes, it's pretty cool. James said Tadpole Trouble's Kickstarter is so good. It is a good time. I want to keep a lower profile right now. That's good. Yeah. Yeah, little by little. And we're still only in January. So it's still really early, little by little. And yeah, just not making a big deal about somebody subscribed, somebody unsubscribed, like all this high and low. Just try to say like low, chill. That's something that me and James's dad does really well at. He just is like chill. He gets excited sometimes, but most of the time he's like super chill. It's a good way to be. So, especially like when things do change, like there will be a day where I'll look at this YouTube channel and I'll be like, wow, that's crazy. I was doing the live stream and like there was only like 2 people watching or whatever. Like, it's just where I'm at right now. And yeah, there will be new stuff that comes out. I remember when Clubhouse came out, I tried using Clubhouse for a little bit. I think I got to 45 followers and I was using Clubhouse. It was fun. And I was like, yeah, just like jump on, and it was fun. It would have been good to save those somehow. I wonder if there's some way to like recover those. I hadn't really thought about that. I don't think so. No, I think yeah, I don't know. But anyway, it's like you try this stuff out and you don't know what's gonna stick. With Clubhouse, I remember it was so hype. It's so hype because like all these people are like, yeah, and I got into Clubhouse and let me give you an invite, and it was like crazy, and it got like 1 million users in like a couple days, and it was super 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 hot. All these different cool stuff going on in there, and then it just like died. Well, it didn't die. I'm sure there's still people that use it, but most people moved on to other stuff because Twitter put in their Twitter Spaces, and that's the crazy things with these big companies. They can just like fingers and make it so their thing fits into that, because Twitter and Facebook, these things are so big that yeah, they're like, oh, that's a cool idea. We'll have our 100 coders code that thing in. So it's like you're like, oh yeah, we can't be copied. We're too cool. Blah blah blah. It's like, dude, say that to Facebook's like 500 plus coders that have been doing this forever, and yeah, they make booga bucks doing this. I believe probably be able to do it, and probably do it a little bit better. So, anyway, yeah, I think that's a good place to end. But yeah, man, I mean, it's so crazy how infinite of a game life is, and it's important to remember that all the things we're doing right now is going to influence like the quality of life for those who will come after us, come after this time period. So great things ahead. Yeah. Kind of have to stay patient, do what we can do, not worry about the unknown. Enjoy the time of relative invisibleness with some of these things, right? Because once you get under that radar and you have a ton of people watching you, like that's, yeah. Like I had a friend, he had one of his videos come up, and now he's like a bigger YouTuber. Now he's like 25,000 subscribers. But back in the day when he's like, here man, look at my channel, he had like 50 subscribers, but then he had a video blow up and now it has over 1 million views. And yeah, so enjoy the time where you get to experiment, you try things out, and there's not really much repercussions with it. And just be grateful that you get the opportunity to do this, because like I'm born 20 years before and I was doing this now, I would be almost 50 years old, right? So I'd been born 20 years later and I was doing this, right? That's one thing I know for sure, is that I was born at the exact right time I was supposed to be born at, along with a lot of other things like Jesus being the Christ and some other stuff, right? But I know 100% I was born at like the exact right time. So that's a beautiful thing. If I've been born like 15 years later or 20 years later, then like my life also would have been very different. Like if I'd been born in 2016, then I would have missed out on VCS and Math Blaster. We would have missed out on. would have missed out on some earlier days of the internet when internet speeds were really slow. Like nowadays, most people in the United States, like most places, semi decent, like pretty good internet connection. So if that was a excuse, like most people don't have that excuse anymore. Then again, we do have iPhones and stuff that are basically designed to not work after a certain period of time. So yeah, yeah, it kind of comes down to that. Just have to love the journey. Be thankful for this time. So it was fun to do the escape room. Today was a good day. I got to plan out the day better tomorrow, so get more done tomorrow. End of the day just comes down to doing better than we did yesterday. Yesterday at church was also good. I slept in. I woke up at 11:42, because my church is at noon. And I had two friends text me, and one of them told me later, or I texted both of them back. One was already at church, and the other one was in the parking lot, went all the way back home to pick me up. So that was super nice of them. So yeah, really blessed, really great, and just learning to love and enjoy the journey, and trying to put myself in places so I can have better thoughts, so I can have better ideas, so I can have better moments, because end of the day, we don't know what's ahead. We're still figuring out more what's possible. Like I've had times where I look at my book sales, and I made some money from Kindle Unlimited, so people reading my book on Kindle Unlimited, and I've made like, I don't know, maybe 50 cents total from that, which is nothing, but that's only from like 10 people reading it, or like 5 people reading it. If I had 200 people reading it, then all of a sudden, like that's a lot more money. And so it's like, when you understand the possibility of these things, it gives you can get a lot more excited when you realize, okay, volume negates luck, and you can get a lot of people on board with this, and something really cool could happen. Like James Clear is over 2 million people on his email list, I think, at this point. And so if he comes out with a new book or a new app or whatever, he can just be like, yeah, I came out with this, check it out. And he's still going to put in like the best marketing he possibly can do, because he has a team and everything. And that thing's going to be a bestseller no matter what. So yeah, I wanted to keep talking until we got to the hour mark. Really blessed, really grateful. God is definitely healing me and taking care of me. And we just have to keep moving forward and remember that anything we do to make this life better for those who will pass pass after us is a good thing. But yeah, life is such a gift. It passes by really quickly. And yeah, I was just kind of thinking about like when I get to see like one of my kids who's like grows up, like one of my future sons, for example. It just makes me think about how much are they going to look to me. I don't know. It's an interesting thing to think about. So yeah, just have to enjoy the journey, continue to build traction and momentum. Probably going to get a ukulele here pretty soon, so I can start practicing that. And yeah, just gotta keep going. That's really all I can say, is just keep going. Like whatever high or low or thing that happened, wherever you're at in this moment, whether you're excited or whatever, just continue to forward, because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. My cousin Clark says it really well. It's like, whether today was the worst day ever or whether yesterday was ever or the best day ever, don't let it negatively impact today. So yeah, that's what I will leave you with. Yeah, I'll leave you with this. Give God this moment. He's got you. Yeah. Thanks for watching. I will see you again when I see you. That was good chatting, and have a good one. You can check out my weekly newsletter to hear more about things I'm learning, things I'm sharing, and that's it. God is good. God is faithful. Remember that all the actions you're putting in they have the opportunity, they have the to ripple effect and bless many lives. So live in an infinite game, and let's just continue to enjoy it. So that's what I will leave with you. Oh, and the game is rigged in your favor. The game is rigged in your favor always. The best is ahead. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.